This conference will now be recorded.
So in exception handling, we have two types of exception. Basically in Python, two types of exception we have: syntax error and logical error. In syntax error, we saw this example. If we not return any double quotation, if we return here double quotation and we not terminate with a double quotation, it will give error as syntax error. This error will come when you write a code. Remember, when you write a code, at that time this error comes. Example, like this error is called compile time error. Compile time error, which we run, and that time it will get an error. So that is called compile time error. Whereas this error is called runtime error. At runtime, dynamically it will generate the error. Example: divide by 2, divide by 0. So the syntax here, 2 divided by 0, this will give you error, right? But here the syntax is correct. We need to specify some value here, some value here, but this is logically is wrong. So this type of error is called logical error or runtime error. So this type of error will not get in editor or IDE. So remember, these errors we can easily find out through compiler IDE, like any software, or this type of error we never find out in any IDE. So for this type of error, we need to understand the logic of code. For this things, this error called logical error, runtime error. This is also known as runtime error. Okay. Now let's take our simple example of that thing. Suppose I'll use a program in which I'll write a code with Python while code. While is a code, or directly while loop. We never used while loop before, that's why I took a while loop for. And here whatever I'll print, I'll get continuously that output. If I print like this, so I'll get this output, because while is especially used to generate based on logics. And here it will, suppose if I want to print this loop from 1 to 10, what I need to do, I need to write here one large variable, and that variable I will do here I equal to I plus 1. And here, instead of writing constant value true, I'll use if I is less than or equal to 5, then condition is true, and then it will print this value. Otherwise it will exit the loop. Let me check with this program output. So here, if I try with the same program, Python exception handling, welcome 5 times is coming. After that, when the value of I become increased by 1, that means 6. So that time this condition is not true, and it will give out of the loop. It will generate a scope of or out of the loop. This is the thing. Now instead of writing this thing, I can use one condition here. Instead of writing here, I can use like this also, true. And here I'll write a one condition. I can use condition here as well. So in this I will write a welcome message, and else if this condition is true, false, that means I need to break this loop. So I'll use break keyword, what we already said. Now same program, if I tried, see welcome and same thing. So in this case, what happened, the control exit control loop is based on break condition. So when this condition is not satisfied, then it will go to else block, and in else block, what is this, break. So because of break, it will directly exit from this loop. So break will immediately terminate from the loop iterative part. Okay, remember this thing. So this is one thing. Now we'll come to the condition. Now suppose for this part, what I'll do, I'll write like this. uh, Instead of writing this thing, I'll just changes this value. So what happened now, guys, help me. We are trying to reduce the value, remember. So what do you mean by this thing? If we try to reduce the value, what happened? Jagdish?
It will I minus 1. It's 1 minus 1 equal to 0.
Then 0,
Break.
-1, -2, -3, like that it will come, and this will never ends. Remember, this is called infinite loop. Because here for syntactical I written all things correct, but problem is what? While writing a code, I forget to increase the value. Instead of writing increase, I written decrease the value. So this is called one type of logical error. Getting my point? This is called one type of logical error. Any question?
Then when we use that one, when it goes to break, then because in this scenario it won't go to break, right? It will go to syntax error, like logical error.
No, in this case, if we written -1, it will continuously execute this loop. Let me check.
Yeah.
See, I'll show you. What happened when we execute continuously, it will execute because there is no error. They understand like that.
Oh,
But
okay.
what we want to achieve only 5 times welcome. So this is not possible now. Why? Because we decrease the value, and this will not never goes to false this condition. This condition always be true. So
True.
this is
Yeah.
called infinite. So this type of loop, remember, we use in industry also. Suppose if you want to make a gaming programming, so that time we don't want to stop our screen refresh. So that time we use this infinite loop. So here, if I'm writing something, so this will automatically continuously executing one by one each time it will execute. So this will be used for writing a GUI based program, because in GUI we continuously generate the output and we need to do some operation on it. So remember, this is very tricky code, and if you return this while true, that means you need to control somewhere with this incremental part and break condition and this condition part. These three things you need to remember if you return true here. Otherwise you can use here condition also, no problem. So my thing is what I need to tell you, this type of loop also we use in industry, but for graphics purpose only. For normal thing we never use this, because this is wrong part. For a normal part, because we use for this graphics purpose only and gaming purpose, then we tried this type of loop. Now let me go in detail about the exception handling, which is very important. Now what happened if we have any error? Consider we have any error. So how we can handle, how we understand this error is coming? So for that purpose we return while code. I'll use while only. While true try colon, and this is called try block. And suppose if I want to get the value of x, and x coming from input, and input, I just want to convert this input into number only. Enter number, that's it. So if I written like this, and if I try to give the value x as abc, so this is not converted properly, right? It will not convert. So that time it will generate an error, and that error we need to handle through exception. Except and then exception. So what is this exception? Exception give you the block where this error comes, error form, some message we return. Now I'll show you the program output. We can terminate this type of infinite loop using control C. So here I press control C, remember. So here I'll try with same program, Python exception handling, and then run. Now it is asking me one number. If I give number, no issue. If I never give number, WE, I return V and then enter. It will give me an error found. So this time also we tried a while loop. See here, Chaitanya, any question?
Yeah, got. No, we're good.
Mhm. So this is very important. We need to remember. If you are not getting the value, we can go like this. And if
So
you
this
got this,
this comes as a syntax error, right? It's sort of like syntax error only, right? This one.
no, this is called conversion error. While
Okay.
converting this WE into number, because we written here INT. So when we try to convert this WE into INT, it will give an error. So this type of called conversion error. So this type of error, if you want to manage, we use try and exception block.
Got it.
Now let me try. Now this is output is correct. Again it is asking. I don't want to do these things again. So what I will do, I'll write here break statement, and I'll say some message here, mission completed, some message, anything you written right line, anything here, and then break statement. Remember, break is very important in infinite loops, otherwise this loop will continuously execute. So when I terminate, if you want to terminate this type of program, but we'll use shortcut key control plus C. Okay, now same program I'm writing. Suppose I return a, then I'll get error found. If I return 12, so it will give me mission completed, and then close this program. Okay, so this is important thing. Now one thing we need to remember, what is exception. Exception is basically part where what is try will detect an error. If error found, then it will directly control cursor, what we say, control cursor automatically jump to exception block. This is called exception block. Whatever you return line in this block, it is called exception block. So in try block, if you found any error, if you return something and there is some error, and that error is called logical error, which will generate at runtime. Remember why we say it is runtime error, because we don't know what is the value of end user, what he will return, what he will write in future. So for that purpose, what we will do, we will use this type of error is called runtime error, and we try to convert this error, and we don't know the value what they will return, and based on that we need to display this message. So this is the main thing we need to share with you. And now this is what exception. Exception, can we write it or we can omit it, no problem. So if I try to write up same program, suppose here, and it will give me output. So error found, now it's correct. So exception, you can omit it or you can write it. Why? Because exception is basically default exception. If any error comes, remember, if any error comes in this section, that means it should generate exception. If you not written exception, by default it is exception. So how many errors we have here? Value error also we have here. Value error found. Now let me try with the same example. Okay, a is not found. Why? Because this error we not handle. Remember, this is a conversion error. Remember, name error, and we not handle this type of error. So what happened? It will directly give this type of error. Now what we will do? We can add multiple exception here, like except this error, and then colon and some value. I'll write here name error found, some message, and then again I'll try name error found. See, so what is this? This is exception names, exception types, you can say. These are the exception classes which we use to detect what the prediction we have, what type of error we'll get here. So this will give you the type of error. So remember, we not written before this type of exception, so it is not getting executed. The exception block is not getting executed. Suppose if I return here ZZ, so it is giving me this type of error. So it will terminate your program. Remember what in by this thing, it will terminate your program. So here, whatever we are getting, this is coming from Python. Python translator basically. So if we don't want to display like this message, because end user never understand what in by these all things, and this is very danger thing, means for security reason they can get the code. See here, we are whatever we written, they can easily find out through this line if we not handle properly exception. So for security purpose and for proper understanding purpose, we use exception handling. And in name error, if we found this type of error, we can utilize this type of error here. Now it will directly jump to name error. And if I return except exception and then colon, now can tell me guys what is the error? What it will be print? Help me to find out what it will be print. If I try to execute this line, what happened? It should print value error, name error, or exception error.
Exception error. Why?
Others,
Because
line number 26 will execute, or line number 24 or 22, or not all, because we know if this type of error is coming. Suppose if I return here AA, then when I press enter, what error will come? Chaitanya, Jagdish?
It's a name error.
Chaitanya?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it should print as like exception error, right?
Let's check. This will give you name error. Why? Because name error is here basically. Now I'll just make it some little bit tricky. Now what happened?
It will go to exception found.
Exception found. Sure. Others?
There,
Yes?
that particular exception stating that like whatever the exception it is, you are trying to catch that particular thing, right? Instead of value, name, whatever it is. So obviously the first thing it will print as like exception found, right?
No, this type of interview question they ask some little bit tricky. So exception found we will get here definitely, because the sequences matter here. Remember, here sequences matter, and in that sequence if it match, it will skip all others below parts. So it will skip these parts because they found this is matching for that error. So it will directly skip all things. Now, so remember, exception will never use in between or at the front. Always we will use exception at the last moment. So we will use this exception always in last. Remember, because it is generic. Generic means for all thing, all type of exception, it will come in this block. So exception we will write always in last, whereas these things we will write in first or middle side. This line always will like else elif and then else. So like that we have. Okay, so this is very important. We need to remember this thing because it require to know many things there. So same thing for if we have some value error also, we can find out the value errors also with the help of these things. Now I'll show you the some simple program. Any doubt, any question in this, guys?
so for one try block, we can have multiple except conditions.
Yes. For one thing, suppose I'm having doubt in this line, for that I can write thousands of exceptions, no issue. But the last one should be exception. Why? Because these all if not matched, so definitely it should go to else block.
Okay.
Exception except block. Okay, Now
Okay.
little bit we'll go in detail about little bit detail. So what we will see, there is one another thing called it's same thing like exception also, called else. In that what we'll write, suppose I'll show you a program. Suppose I have here one exception, try, and then print some message. Now here I have doubt, or else a equal to 10, b equal to 20, and then c equal to a divided by b. It's okay. Now here c is equal to 0 divided by 0. Here we have error, right? And then I'll write what I'll use, instead of writing this, I'll use this int input, and then value number. A value. Same thing here I'll do. Now here I'll write except, and then some condition like I have a issue with the error, and if this error is coming, it should go to this line, and it will print name error found, like this message, some message we will get. And else if it is not executed successfully, means else you'll write here else, and then c equal to a divided by b. What in by these things I will tell you. So this means if both line not given you any error, it should go to else block. Whereas this except means what, if we have any error which is related to name error, so this will go to this block, or we can write exception also. One another block also we can write except exception colon and then some value, exception found. So let me try one this program. Enter a value, b value we need to return. Enter a value, I return 12. Now if I return 2, 12 and 2 are normal values, it will not generate any issue, so it will directly calculate this value. And how we can get the result here also, print value of c is, and some value comma c, that's 12, 2, and value of c is 6. Now in this case, if I try to change the value of 12 and a, and then I'll get the value. So why I'm not getting 1 here, why I'm getting 1 here? Because of else block. Because of else block, because here if we see here, this type of error a is now I'll show you another program. Now see here I'm getting some values error, because a is basically what is a is some specific code we have for that a, for that is the reason we are getting 1 here. And here we get an error, name value name error found. Why name error found? Because here if you see, this is basically a word, and if they try to convert this word, into a number, it should give an error, and that's why name error comes. So here if we try with this example, suppose here 12 and a, and then it should give me this type of error. Now if I write like this 0 and 0, now what would be output?
Exception found.
Others?
Yeah, this goes to exception found. No, 0 divided by 0, right? So it will go to the value of C is C.
Let me tell you, it will give you error. Why? Because this will not give you any error. Remember, this will try to convert that error. This will basically try to convert this error. It will just convert that value into number, and 0 is properly converted, so it will, these two lines will not generate any error. And here if you see, we have an error, and we not handle that error. We directly return the code. That's why we are getting this type of error. Error, division error, 0 division error. Why? Because we never handled here. So what you need to do, if you again have doubt in running remaining code, you need to write like this: except 0 and not possible. Okay, so now here we return exception block, try and except block. So this should give you an output or result. Now I'll try with same example. So here if I return 0 and 0, so what happened? These two line number 30 and line number 31, it will not generate any error. In line number 38, that means 0 divided by 0 equal to C, that C equal to A divided by B, it will generate an error. And directly in line number 38, this line will directly jump to this block, and it will display not possible, not possible. See here, it will generate not possible error. So remember, try, except with particular name like name makes error or 0 division error. These error we can find, and generic error handling called exception and else. 5 things we saw. Now we will try to enhance this code. Little bit enhancement we will try. Here what we will do, we will try to update this code with the help of some examples. Another example, suppose sometime what happened, I'm using import sys. I want to check the output especially in operation team. What we will do, suppose I have a Python code, and here I want to load some library sys. I loaded sys. Now what I need to do, I need to use some sys.platform. Remember, we are working with 32-bit compiler, so that is the reason it will generate 32. Same code, if you try to execute this same code into Linux, so it will generate Linux here. It will display you Linux here. So Win32 we are getting because of compiler is 32-bit. Even operating system is 64-bit, but compiler is 32-bit. So from this what we understand, sys.platform will generate the current operating system bit, compiler bit, translator you can say. So the bit of that we can find out through this method. So this is one package. And now what I will do, assert, and in this bracket I'll write it, if it is Linux, then write in sys.platform and then bracket close. Remember, when this code execute, when we'll get Linux operating system, comma, double quotation, your OS is Linux, like this. See, when this error, no, your OS is not Linux. This means it will generate an error, and that error is called the value whatever we specify here. This is called assert. What in by assert? Assert basically used to find out the conditional based exception. This is one type of conditional based exception. If this condition is not satisfied, then it will generate right hand side value. Right hand side, whatever you return, it will generate with exception argument. So this is your exception argument, and this is your exception name. So we'll try one another program. Suppose instead of writing this thing, what I will do, I'm writing assert, and then in bracket, I know my operating system is Win32. Why? Because I check from here, Win32, right? So I'll write Win32 and then colon, and then here I'm writing in keyword to find out what both are same or not. Platform form bracket close, comma, and then value. OS is not Linux. Some message I written here. Now I will not give you output. Why? Sorry, it is Linux. Sys dot platform Win32, and Win32 it will generate this error. So when this error comes, remember, when this error comes, when this condition, this and right hand side value both are not equal. If both are not equal, then only it will generate an exception and this message whatever you written here. So here also same thing. If you see, if I try to print sys.platform, what in by this thing? This means Win32, means your operating system bit. Now here I written like this line, what in by these things? That means this condition is satisfied. If this condition satisfied, it will never generate this type of output. Getting my point? Any question, guys? Hello? Any
Yeah,
question?
no, I'm fine.
Chaitanya, Ashok?
No,
Yes.
I'm good. I'm good, Mujahid.
Okay. So let me try with complete program, so it would be good for you. So we'll do one thing. We'll try one simple program with exception handling, and in this case, we'll try same one function. We'll write here import. First of all, we require import because we are using sys package details. So we'll use def Linux code, some message function name assert, and then here I'll specify Linux. If it is Linux, then in sys.platform. Now you just tell me the output of the code. Okay, function can only run in Linux. The code whatever we written, it should only run in Linux. That message I written here. Now here I'll use some message. Bye. Okay, now I'll try my try block. In this try block, I'm trying to call Linux code function. With Linux code function calling, I'm writing here exception handling, except assertion exception error as an error. Remember, what in by this as keyword means, if you want to go in detail about this exception, means argument of that exception, which means this thing, this message, so you can fetch this value through this as keyword. So if you want the argument object of this class, so you can use as and then 0 divided by error, like this, ZDE, any value which is not reserved, you can write here. So as is basically one keyword which will generate the object. So here I'm getting an object called error, and with this error object I can do some message also here. I can use it, or you can say assertion error found, or finally we'll try with exception. So in exception, if we return exception or not, both are same. So this and exception part also same. That means this line This line number 34 and 34 and line number 51 both are same. Let's try with program. So we'll go with simple exception handling and see. Oh, sorry. Assertion error form. See here, because this code generate an error. Why? Because this code only works when you have Linux. If you don't have Linux, it will not generate the code. Now this by, why it is not printing? Because it is not Linux. If you want to print this by or other part of this code of this function, so you can write here Win32 based on your operating system, and this code will only run in Win32. Remember.
So we need to write the exact platform that is getting as an output for that particular systems platform, or we can write Windows or something.
No, we need to write whatever exact value inside your platform. So now if I try with the same program, I'll get by. Why? Because this by will only execute when this condition is satisfied. Remember. So this will use when we require a code to run in particular operating system. So this is called conditional based exception. I want conditional based exception. That time we use assert. You got the concept of assert? What in by assert? Assert will generate an exception if the code is not satisfied. Means the condition is not satisfied, then it will generate an exception and it will not execute the remaining block. The remaining block here is by, and it will not execute that by because this assert will throw an exception. Getting my point? Any issue, any doubt, guys? Yes or
no?
Ashok?
No, good.
Now same thing we have. Suppose this is conditional base. If you don't want conditional base, remember, if this is conditional base, but I want after some specific thing, I want automatically it should give an error and other remaining part it should not execute. So that time what we will do, instead of writing this thing, we'll use raise keyword. What in by raise keyword? Raise, R-E-A, raise, and then keyword. This is keyword, remember, and exception name. Here I can pass some value. So here I am passing ABC and then LMN. So what in by this thing? This will execute an exception and it will pass these arguments. So let me try with simple program for understanding this example. Try colon, and then here I'm writing this code. Consider. So print, I'm writing here welcome. Here I'll write print by. Except here I'm using except object. Remember, exception object as exp or inst, any name. Here print, and then I want to find out the type. What is the type of this object? Inst. Where is inst comes? Here. Remember, it is coming from here. And then I want to find out the arguments. So I'll write inst dot args. And then I want to find out what is inside this inst. So I'll write inst. So I can store these values, whatever I have, I can store these values in one variable also. Remember, inst dot args. I know I have two values, ABC and LMN. So these ABC will store in X and LMN is stored in Y. And then these values I can print here. Print value of X, value of first argument is, and the value of X. Same thing for Y, second argument argument is whatever the value of y. Now let me try with the same example. See what I am writing here, what I will get the output. Guys, can you help me? What is the output of this program? Here, first of all, we'll get welcome message, right? And after that, it will generate by message or not? Hello? Hello?
Yeah, it will.
It should display by message or not?
Yeah, it will display by message.
Others, Jayesh, Ashok, Chaitanya. No, it will not generate by message. Remember why? Because it got an error here. Purposefully, we are generating an error here. Remember, forcefully, we are giving error here. So it will not generate by message. It will display welcome message, and remaining thing it will execute from here. When it sees this raise exception, so it will directly find out this block into this except block. So if we have multiple except here, it will directly pick this except block. And here we create an object, and if we want to find out the type, so we get this type. Type is exceptions dot exception. What is the arguments? Arguments are ABC and element. What is inside inst? Inside inst this value. And what is the value of x and y? Value of x and y is ABC and element. So from raise keyword we can generate our own error. Suppose if example, where we can use this type of example, guys tell me, in which area? Suppose the minimum balance you cannot remove you cannot get bank ATM side any amount less than 1 rupees. If you're trying to fetch the value less than 100 rupees, if you try to fetch the value of 70 rupees, you'll not able to get it. Why? Because they generate raise exception. They manually generate the raise exception. Why they generate manually raise exceptions? Because of RBI rule. They want to follow that rule, and this is not allowed by any programming. Whatever the value is there, you can get directly, but they need to manually forcefully generate an exception through this raise keyword. Okay, got this concept or any doubt?
Got it,
No.
Muzaffer.
Got it.
So sometime what happen, we can get the error, and that error we can generate from output also. Like example, I have one example here, class. I'll create a class. Class is basically, I'll go to throw in detail about tomorrow, but remember one, we can create our own error also, like exception we have here, right? We can create our own error using this keyword class exception, and we need to derive with exception, because each and everything is called through exception. So def and underscore underscore, this is called predefined. Init underscore underscore predefined constructor. I'll go detail in tomorrow about this session. Self and mismatch, some value I'll return variable, and then here I'll use exception dot underscore underscore. That means I'm calling a constructor of exception. Self dot mismatch. That's it. So tomorrow I'll go in detail about this section, but remember I can create my own error, and in that error I can generate any value. Like here I'll display here some value. So print test message, any message we can generate. Now here I want my own error, raise my error called vocational error. Any error you can write here, vocation error, and in that I need to pass some value. So this value vocation argument, any value. Now here I'm trying to display message by. Now except I know what is the error here, vocation error. As problem. Here I'm trying to display the value. And the format or problem. That's it. See, I'm getting vocation argument here. I created my own error and I'm trying to display that error. So this is completely custom error handling concept. Tomorrow I'll show you what is class and init and self keyword. Now for today onward, we need to know about the basic concept of exception handling. What we see today, few things we saw today. Help me to solve. One is basically try block, right? Then except block with multiple except. We can have one except or multiple except. Exception purpose. What is the purpose of exception? Divide by error, zero divide by error, division error, name error, and value error. These errors we saw, and then after that we saw a concept called assert, conditional based exception, then raise, then custom error exception handling. Okay, tomorrow we will see concept called object oriented programming, which is very important for interview. And to run or understand the enterprise level code, we should know object oriented programming. And this example I will revise it again for you tomorrow. We'll see tomorrow. Okay, any doubt, any question, guys? Yes, question.
The init, why we used a 2 double underscore in that?
Where in line number you can say
68. Before init, we use 2 underscore, right? What is the purpose of? Yeah.
This is predefined. That means it is predefined. If you are writing this double underscore and with double underscore, that is called predefined. I'll go detailing tomorrow about this.
Okay. Yeah.
Because we saw many times this type of underscore. In code, we saw many times this type of code.
Oh.
I'll show you tomorrow. Underscore,
Yeah,
underscore. Sure. Okay. Other than this.
Other than fine.
Sure. Fine. Okay. So we'll see tomorrow sharp 8 IST.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you.